Clara's 42, and for the longest time, when it came to her mother, she tried to keep a hands-off approach. She did this a lot during her 30s, and luckily for her, for the most part, it worked. Still, as Clara started to learn more about her issues with codependency and tried to heal from the trauma her mom caused, she became a lot more confrontational. Clara used to be a patient woman, but that all changed when she refused to back down. And truth be told, she got a lot of pleasure from seeing her mother fly off the handle in a narcissistic rage. Because now Clara could beat her at her own game. For Clara, this was fun for a while, but soon enough, it started to impact her mental health, and she didn't win every confrontation she'd have with her mom. Clara's mother, Bethany, really knew how to push her buttons. And ultimately, the thing that pushed her over the edge was an old tea kettle.
Gosh, I'm already on the edge of my seat. Me and my family have fallen out over some silly things, but a kettle… damn.
Yeah, well, this is how Clara's story began. You see, she moved back to her hometown after her grandmother's health started to go downhill. So like a good granddaughter, she wanted to take care of her. Clara's grandmother was a certified nursing home assistant, and Clara made a sworn promise to not let her grandma waste away in a place like that. Unfortunately though, Clara moving back to her hometown came with certain drawbacks. She lost her career, and she had to start from scratch in a place that was paying her much less. For Clara though, she was happy to pay the price if it meant she could take care of her grandma, which, is really sweet. Clara moved in with her grandma as it'd make things much easier, but it wasn't an idea she was particularly keen on.
Why? I thought she'd like being closer.
Well, simply put, once Clara's grandmother passed away, Bethany, Clara's mom, would inherit her home. Anyway, after being able to enjoy 4 amazing years with her grandma, she finally passed away, and immediately, Bethany swooped in and started making up a bunch of new rules, as well as a bunch of things that Clara would need to do if she didn't want to get kicked out. You have to keep in mind that Clara looked after and paid for everything over those 4 years, never asking her mom for a penny because she knew if she asked Bethany for help, it'd be like doing a deal with the devil, as there'll be a price to pay later on. Clara wasn't having any of it though, so rather than pay her mom rent, she made plans to move out as soon as possible. Bethany wasn't happy about this though, and tried to do everything in her power to stop Clara from stepping out on her own. She tried to say that Clara owed her money, and even made it seem like she'd sign over the house to Clara at some point. She even let other family members know that if they helped Clara move, she'd never forgive them.
What is she, some kind of mafia boss?
She's just super controlling, but that didn't stop Clara from getting out of there.
Good. So she got help in the end?
No. She moved everything by herself a month later. That's how determined she was. Despite how her mom was treating her, Clara tried even harder to maintain a relationship with Bethany, giving her one more chance to change her ways. But it didn't take more than 5 months for that idea to go out the window. After moving out, Clara's aunt Rachel created a group chat and invited Clara and Bethany to join. It was something they'd use to just keep up with each other. Every now and again they'd ask Clara how the new home was doing. But her mom would always say condescending things about her new place, and Clara would respond with something like,
"I would have been more than happy to stay if you didn't try to do what you did."
You're just ungrateful. You lived here for 4 years with your grandma, and for that whole time, I never charged you rent, even though you were working.
Wait, what? But she looked after her grandma. Isn't that enough?
You'd think so, but I didn't even tell you the part in which Clara's mother got married to a doctor and took every penny of the inheritance that Clara's grandfather had left for her. So, when it comes to money, let's just say that Bethany wasn't struggling. In any case, 5 months pass, and Bethany starts sending messages to the group chat about things Clara had taken from the house. This soon became about how Clara's never able to tell the truth about things, and how she'd never forgive Clara for what she did.
Huh, what did Clara do? Did I miss a part of this story?
No. But this is where the famous Kettle comes into play, as Clara and her mom get into an argument over the phone.
Why did you give my old cast tea kettle to your dad?
What the hell are you talking about?
I know that you took it while you were living with Grandma. It was on the wooden stove, so I know that you took it.
There hasn't been a kettle on the stove for years. And to be honest, I didn't even know it was missing.
Clara didn't know how her mother figured out that her dad had that kettle, but she did know that the kettle never belonged to her mother and had been in her father's family for generations. This is something that Clara knew growing up. Bethany just took the kettle with her during the divorce because she wanted to hurt Clara's dad as much as possible. After arguing on the phone with her mom for a while, Clara decided that she'd had enough. But before she could hang up the phone, her mother said,
You better get that tea kettle back or there'll be hell to pay.
Damn. She wanted that kettle more than Thanos wanted the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Anyway, to get this whole thing sorted out, Clara called her dad, who we'll just call Angelo from now on. Clara never thought her dad was perfect, but he was always very good with her, especially with all the crap her mother put her through. I mean, Bethany used Clara to emotionally blackmail her dad, intentionally sabotaging their relationship. Anyway, when Clara gives her dad a call, the first thing he says is,
Hi, is this about the kettle?
Ha ha ha. Bingo.
Look, while your grandma was alive, she felt bad that your mom took the kettle from me during the divorce and left it with her. When you got back and I started to visit you guys, I noticed the kettle but never said anything. But your grandma, well, she brought it up one day. She told me to take it back, and she didn't even think your mom remembered taking it during our divorce.
Clara's grandmother was always very fond of Angelo, and during her final years, they reconnected. He'd even visit her when Clara wasn't around. And, that little detail actually warmed my heart. Being surrounded by people who loved her so much must have been amazing. Anyway, Bethany learned that Angelo got the kettle back from his ex-girlfriend, as he spoke about it in front of her with one of his friends, and it wasn't long before Bethany gave Angelo a call.
You're a damn thief, you know that? That kettle belonged to my family. It was never yours.
You're talking nonsense. Even if it didn't have my family's name on it, possession is 9/10 of the law. I don't care what you do, you're not getting it back. It belongs to my family. Besides, it was your mom who gave it back to me.
Despite Angelo telling Bethany the truth about what happened, for some reason, she was fixated on this whole thing being Clara's fault. So the drama was far from over.
All this over a damn kettle? This thing must be made of gold.
Funny you should say that because I've actually got a picture of it, but I'll show you later on in the story.
God, I'm on the edge.
Yeah. Anyway, back in the group chat, Bethany continued calling Clara a liar. But Clara, being the decent daughter she is, she'd never call out her mom in front of other people. But something about this whole tea kettle thing flipped a switch inside Clara. A switch she couldn't easily turn off. Before we get to the end of this story, we have to go back a little bit, just to when Clara first moved out of what used to be her grandmother's house. Remember how Bethany was saying that she'd give the house to Clara at some point? Well, just before the kettle incident, Clara wanted to put this to the test. Bethany said that Clara could come back, but she'd only have access to one bedroom and the communal areas of the house. The reason for this is that Bethany and her husband had put their home on the market, so it was going to be sold. Clara wasn't convinced of this though, because, why would they move from a 3-story mansion to a 3-bedroom cabin? Anyway, until their home could be sold and they were able to buy a new place, they'd live with Clara, something that Clara had no interest in doing, which is why she moved out. Clara's no stranger to how her mom liked to tell lies. She lied so much that Clara would record her saying stuff so she could replay it later on, just to make sure she wasn't losing her mind, as Bethany was one hell of a gaslighter. Clara was fully convinced that her mom was lying about this whole house thing, so she brought in one of her friends to look into it. As far back as a year ago, which is when Bethany and her husband had put the house up for sale, there was nothing. And Clara's friend's a real estate agent, so if anyone was going to find this place, it'd be him. Now, let's come back to the more recent events in the story, in which everything goes up in smoke. As per usual, Bethany was trying to humiliate Clara in the group chat, and at this point, Clara was fed up, so she messaged her aunt privately. Naturally, Clara's aunt was worried about her, so she called Clara, and that's when Clara came clean about everything. After talking on the phone with her aunt, Clara posted the real estate listings in the group chat, showcasing the fact that her mom was lying about the whole thing. Bethany wasn't ready to call it quits though, and instead went on about how the listing was new so wouldn't show up yet.
But didn't she post it up a year ago?
Exactly. And Clara mentioned this, which sent her mom into a panic. After that, Bethany went on a total rampage, trying to do everything to tarnish Clara's name. Clara didn't care about what the people in her hometown thought of her though, and the people she really cared about already knew how much of a narcissistic monster her mother was. Still, Clara started getting bombarded with messages from people about how much of an awful daughter she was, and eventually, she'd had enough. She warned her mom that if she didn't put an end to this campaign she had going on, she'd do something about it herself. Bethany didn't care though. I mean, why would she? She's a narcissist. But the message that made Clara see red came from a preacher who contacted her via Facebook, attempting to shame her into talking with her mom. Clara went scorched earth and created the group chat to end all group chats. She added all of her phone contacts, some of Bethany's current and ex-friends, her husband's family and kids, people from their community, and of course, the preacher who thought she was a horrible daughter. In the group chat, Clara exposed all of the horrible things her mother had said about these people. Remember how Clara said she'd record her mom? Well, she had all the receipts during this exposure. She had text messages, voicemails, and phone recordings. In fact, Clara was shocked by just how much she managed to save. At the end of it all, she shared the story about her mom's fake house listing, and her dad topped it all off by posting a picture of the Kettle with the caption saying, "Was this really worth it?"
Damn. That thing looks ancient, but I can see why it's irreplaceable.
Yeah, it does. After that, Clara and her dad quickly exited the chat, and needless to say, they ruffled a lot of feathers. People were upset about the things Bethany had said about them, and many of them apologized to Clara for getting it all wrong. Clara didn't care about that though. The only thing she cared about was finally being able to inflict damage on the woman who'd hurt her over and over again. By destroying her public persona, her ego took a massive hit, and all for the sake of a Kettle that didn't really belong to her. In Clara's eyes, the Kettle was just a conquest to her mom, a token of victory over her dad. Since that day, Clara hasn't spoken with her mom, and she's cut off a lot of people who were in the group chat. It's not that she hasn't forgiven them, she just doesn't miss them.
Wow, that's intense. So what? Did her mother just run away, never to be seen again?
Not exactly. Bethany's tried reaching out to Clara's dad, talking about how she misses her daughter, but Angelo let her know that Clara wanted nothing to do with her. Bethany says that Clara's been brainwashed by her dad and her support group, and I don't know if she actually believes that or if it's just something she says. Bethany has no way to contact Clara directly though, and Clara would rather keep it that way.
Well, I'm just glad that she got what she deserved. Things don't always work out that way.
Yeah, tell me about it. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed today's video on coffee and popcorn, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.